Why does your shoulder hurt when you do a dip or a bench press? Well, there could be multiple things going on, but the most common problem is just that the shoulder is not staying in a nice, happy, home-based position in that joint. And so it's just rubbing bone on bone or bone on tendon and causing a lot of inflammation in the joint. So here's what I want you to imagine. Imagine this is your shoulder joint, your shoulder bone, and this is sort of the socket that it sits in. Well, if it can stay and has a little bit of space to move and it's centered in there and it's kind of doing its thing, there's no problem with that, right? The shoulder's anchored, it's all centered, everything's nice. What starts to become a problem is if the shoulder itself starts moving and now you don't have very good control and there's just some rubbing action happening. You can see that if you're using a lot of weight and you're doing lots and lots of repetitions over time, that's going to probably cause some pain and inflammation. So generally speaking, here's what we're kind of looking at. If I'm doing a bench press or a dip or something like that, right, where my elbow is coming back, right, the tendency is, if I'm relaxed there, for that shoulder to want to come forward into this type of posture. And you can probably just tell intuitively that if I'm doing a lot of heavy work in this position, like even this just doesn't really feel very good, over time you're gonna have an issue there. So what you need to do is make sure that, number one, that you have the control and awareness to maintain a good position, and that you just work within a range of motion that is safe and that you're able to do that. So a dip is probably the most challenging aspect of that, and I have a whole series on that if you are interested, which I'll link to below. But right, you need to be able to maintain this kind of a position in a dip and not get into there. The second thing you need to do is you make sure you have sufficient flexibility. So if I'm doing a bench press, for example, and I need to get the bar to touch my chest for it to sort of count and be a good repetition, well, if my arm can only go back this far before I default into a bad spot, right, that's not sufficient for the bar to touch my chest. So the only way that I'm going to be able to make up that distance is for my shoulder to compensate. And I'm going to have to do that on every single repetition of the bench press until I improve that. So those are the things that you want to think about in terms of why you may be having a shoulder issue, especially in the front of the shoulder in those types of exercises. And it basically just means you need to work on improving your control and stability, your ability to anchor that shoulder and keep everything centered and in a nice, happy place. And then number two, if you're really lacking flexibility, then you need to address that. And the simplest way to do that, let's say for a bench press, is, okay, I retract my shoulder blade, I bring my arm back, I bring it up, is that kind of below or above the line of my chest? And if it's above where the bar would need to be to hit your chest, well, you got a problem. If it's below that, then you have some wiggle room to work with. Anyway, those are a few ideas in terms of why your shoulder might be hurting. If you have that problem and you have some more follow-up questions about it, hop on my website, email me, and we may be able to get you sorted out.